right, in this video, we're addressing the death count in America. You always hear people say, oh, the 600,000 people are dead. How can you be so callous? They always talk about the dramatics of the death count. Well, the death count for the virus, we have no idea what it is. What we do know is it's inflated. And this video is going to show this. It's in basically three parts. One being, and Dr. Burks will say it right here, everybody who dies with COVID is a COVID death. So in other words, and she's going to say this, you can be 85 years old, congestive heart failure, COPD, liver failure, brain cancer, going to the hospital because you're getting a runny nose and you're with symptoms and you're running a fever. And if your heart explodes, you're in the hospital, it's going to be called a COVID death. Everybody gets called a COVID death. And she says it right here.
Other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that.
Okay. And she talks about forms coming in and having the flexibility. Well, what's she talking about? Well, let's look at something else here. CDC. Okay, now that video, let's go back to it. That video, Dr. Burks, that was made April 8th, 2020. Okay? Well, what she's talking about is on the CDC, March 24th, 2020, says this is how we label our COVID deaths. So somebody can go in the hospital, and like she said, with symptoms of COVID, have a heart issue, have a liver issue, doesn't matter what it is, they die, it's going to be called COVID. Okay, well, the CDC says, should COVID-19 be reported on the death certificate only with a confirmed test? COVID-19 should be reported, this is according to the CDC, COVID-19 should be reported on the death certificate for all decedents where the disease caused, and notice it's bold, or is assumed to have caused or contributed to death. So, as Dr. Burke said, everybody who comes in that dies, they can come in with symptoms of COVID, think they have it. If they die of a heart attack, liver failure, whatever it is, it's called a COVID death. And the CDC says you don't even need a test. Don't bother testing them. All we need, as it says in bold, or is assumed to have caused or contributed to death. So everybody's getting grouped in. Now here is something else. So if you're a doctor and you're treating somebody, here's another part to it, is there's a financial incentive. This is in the USA Today. And this goes back to March 24th, 2020. And hospital administrators might well want to see COVID-19 attached to a discharge summary or a death certificate. Why? Because it's a straightforward garden variety pneumonia. That person is admitted to the hospital for, if they're Medicare, typically the diagnosed related group lump sum payment would be $5,000. But if it's COVID-19 pneumonia, then it's $13,000. So you're talking more than double. And if it's COVID-19 pneumonia, patients end up on a ventilator, it goes up to $39,000. So if they can label this a COVID-19 and they went on the ventilator, they're getting $39,000 versus the typical diagnosis of $5,000. So what we have is, we have Dr. Burke saying that everybody who comes in and dies always gets labeled a COVID death, and no test is needed. A doctor just needs to assume, and we will pay you more. So with that being our system, you know the numbers we have are inflated.